Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so, uh, boy, is it when it rains, it pours as it pertains to LeBron James. Not only is he going through it, but people are making fun of him all over the internet. He said he was going to run from social media for the most part, didn't want to have nothing to do with it, and then proceeded to go into the biggest slump of his life. I don't know if he saw it coming or what, but it's a good thing he stay off social media right now, because they are, man, are they really clowning that man. But you know, part of this is his fault, man. He allowed ESPN and those guys to teach a generation how to hate him, like literally. He has a lot of part in that, because he let them run the hot and cold narratives that ultimately propped him up to be the biggest superstar in sports. Talking about him 24/7. It's like, you can't expect that's not going to have some residual effects in the minds of the people who are paying attention to you. Because for sure they are going to hate you as you go through your process, as you, whatever it may be. If you allow the media to mold propaganda upon your mind, upon your image rather, you know what I mean? And then just let them make people love you and hate you at the same time to such an exaggerated degree. Of course, people are going to enjoy your downfall, make fun of your son when he plays ball and all. I mean, like, we got a whole generation of like 22-year-olds that were taught to hate this dude and or obsess over him, one or the other, but to have some extreme feeling about him. So this is just as much of a creation of his as it is a byproduct of just natural reactions to a player not doing well. This is not simple as, oh, LeBron James is struggling and everybody's laughing. No, they taught people how to feel strongly about LeBron James. Same thing that made him rich is going to make him cry, more or less. And I personally think a lot of what he's frustrated with is how they're reacting to his son and how that narrative is going. But like, if that wasn't foreseeable, I don't know what was. You propped him up there knowing that he wasn't ready. You made the team use a draft pick on him, gave him a 4-year deal. Of course, in the presence of everything we already described, they're going to make fun of him if he struggles. They're going to make fun of him if he played well. So, I don't know, man. I just think people, you get what you pay for it. That's really what it comes down to. You want to be the most famous basketball player to ever play. You wear Mike's number initially, call yourself the chosen one and all this other stuff. Then you co-sign Nike and all these other companies running all this different propaganda upon your image to make you the most famous, for better or for worse, and this is what comes of that. Now people are taught to hate you. People who are now creating content don't realize that a lot of what it is that they are aiming for has been programmed in their mind by Nike and ESPN and all these other corporations that got to them at a young age in regards to feeling so passionately one way or another about LeBron James. Like, let's be real. Half the people who are running content on him are like between the ages of what? 21 and 30? That's the generation ESPN and Nike and them was targeting. Every single damn day, twice a day, 3 times a day in regards to LeBron James. Everything we watch. Anybody who was ever influenced by ESPN has watched a million different LeBron segment, Lakers segments, and Cowboy segments. That's what you grew up on, literally. That's what they were targeting your brain with from a young age, to feel so very passionately about all 3 of those things, whether you love them or hate them. And, they threw some Tebow in there. They threw some, different momentary interest. But it really was LeBron, the Lakers, and the Cowboys every single day. And so, of course, they're going to be, when you put LeBron and the Lakers together, of course, all these grown people who are like 21, 22 to like 31, 32, that age range, yeah, they're going to feel strongly, and they ain't going to even realize that that's not an independent thought in a lot of cases. And you were taught to feel strongly about LeBron James. Literally. And so for me, it's like, I preach independent thought on my channel, but I can't lose sight of the fact that a lot of people, they were taught how to think. They were taught how to taught what opinions to have. You know, as it pertains to sports and the subject of the king, that was embedded in them from jump. So it's not surprising to me to see how this is unfolding with his son and him not playing well for a stretch of time, unprecedented. You know, you got the haters just out and about. They can't think about nothing else. It's the only thought in their head is how LeBron James fell off. And it's the same thing that made him wealthy. It's the same thing that made him a billionaire. It's people obsessing over him one way or another. So that's just what it is, man. I would not want that if I were a superstar. Run legitimate content on me. I don't run propaganda that makes people worship me or loathe me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that type of extreme energy attached to me. I don't, unless I earn it. So some stuff people do for money ain't worth it, man. Now your son got to go through the worst of it, trying to make his way through his rookie season, and people are pointing all that energy at him, just like they pointed all that energy at his dad. Difference is, his dad was able to prove that he was great in the process of it. The son is not able to do that. That's the reality of it. So if you ask me what's wrong with LeBron James from a mental standpoint right now, I would say it's because his son is not having a good go start his career, and it's a lot of flack coming down on the son. And while he can handle it being pointed at him, he probably ain't doing too well with it pointed at his kid. That's what I think is happening there. On top of what I believe is probably him playing through injury, which is affecting him physically. But even before he had that injury, he wasn't playing that great. Even before he had that collision with Wemby, he wasn't playing well, even before that. So, you know, is it father time? Of course. He's 40 years old, man. He's born in 84 and he's still playing basketball. Heck yeah, father time has a lot to do with it. But I don't think it's the majority of what's going on there. I don't think so. I think he has slowed down, but I think some of it has to do with him not being 100% focused, not being 100% checked in. And just like everybody else on the Los Angeles Lakers team, I really do believe, with the exception of the new people, a lot of people are just over what we just went through, even the fans. Like, we don't have a strong threshold for bullcrap or things that don't work out for us. We are already tender when it comes to that. You know, Darvin Ham's era ran through our patience. Him keep losing the same damn teams over and over again. You know, that really did eat away at a lot of patience people have with this unit. And the fact that we didn't make any changes, I think catered to that overall frustration and fatigue. And we didn't make no roster moves, for which I understand much better than I think a lot of people who do this understand. You couldn't force the market to work with you. If anything, you can force yourself into making a bad trade. You know what I mean? So I don't think, after watching too many bad trades in my lifetime and watching so much good talent walk out the door and all different types of stuff that I think is a mistake, I don't put those two things together. That we need to make a trade and that we're able to make a trade are two very different games. Two very different things that require independent thought in regards to those subjects. And the market is not going to coincide with your needs. Ever. And because I believe I understand the market, I know better than to think that we're going to be able to make a trade just because we need to make one. It's quite the contrary, actually. So, you know, for me, it's like, yeah, it would be great if the market worked like that, as simple as people want it to. But, you know, when you understand the full context of what there is to see there, you stop dreaming of stuff like that. You're hopeful that your GM can find a way, but as I understand how things go, the market makes sure you don't have a way, which is what I think the disconnect is for a lot of Laker fans and talking heads. I don't think they understand. They're saying, well, make a way. No, the market makes sure you don't. It's like having a chastity belt on. You understand what I'm saying? You cannot. And that people put those demands upon you ain't going to make it so that belt come off. And that's exactly what's going on there when you start being desperate to make moves and you don't have enough gunpowder to know, or picks in this case, to pull the trigger. You could tell a GM to hurry up and do something, but it don't mean that it's going to be able to get that done. Lakers made the mistake of moving the picks, and we talked about that today in earlier videos, in the Russell Westbrook fiasco. Those are the picks that would otherwise be in place to help you make the moves you need to make, people. If you didn't do those two things, you wouldn't have any of these problems. Because at this point, you would have been able to trade Kuzma independently, probably could have got something for him. Trade KCP independently, probably got something for him. Keep those guys and probably don't even have any of these problems. With their experience, the continuity of the team, championship experience that they ultimately brought to the table, us thinking we needed to turn them into Russell Westbrook and costing picks in order to do so, really made it so that you don't have enough to do what you need to do to get as good as you need to get. And that's been my argument the whole time. We can talk about what the Lakers need to do, but at the end of the day, what we needed in order to get it done has already been given away. And that's what the truth is. So people want to take the last two picks we got and get it and trade them for a role player and don't realize that they're going to have the same needs tomorrow that they have right now. And whatever team you have is likely not going to have LeBron James on it, which means it's going to have even more needs. So that people don't care about that doesn't make it any less painful when it's time to go through it. And because I'm wise enough to know that, I preach that on my channel, that people would rather deal with the headache they have today, no matter how much it hurts. And all this talk about doing right by LeBron James, tomorrow when LeBron's gone, and so are those damn picks, you ain't gonna care about that. All that stuff that you're talking about anything having to do with this year ain't gonna matter. Come that year, when you don't have nothing to show for it, and Anthony Davis probably wants out, your team is shallow because you didn't give away all the pieces that would otherwise provide you requisite pieces, as described in what we just said about Kuzma and KCP and the pick. I mean, it's like you giving everything away that can ultimately allow you to make a team that's even reasonably decent tomorrow when LeBron's gone. And to make it worse because of it, that pick, for which is going to likely be a good one, goes to someone else of whom you've made that trade for. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. Wisdom tells me that the headache I got ain't nearly as bad as the headache I'm going to get for trying to fix this headache with those picks. It's just not. And look, man, I was listening to someone this morning. They were talking about, they think that Brandon Ingram, and we talked about Brandon a little bit, potentially being on the move, but Brandon Ingram's value could potentially be low because the team he's on could potentially be bottoming out. Although I think that's probably not likely, given the fact they have so much good talent coming back early enough in the season for them to make a real run. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the running for the play-in tournament by the end of the season. I just don't think they're in a bad spot as it pertains to maybe being able to come back into the season and make something of it. At least being 500 by the end of the year. Because you got such high-level guys coming back. And you found such good stuff while those guys were out. So it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a late-game rush team to make the playoffs and, shock the world type stuff. New Orleans has enough talent to really do that. But nevertheless, let's just say they do see themselves bottoming out. They don't get Zion back, Would it be right for them to move on from Brandon Ingram as an expiring contract? And does it cost a little less because of the circumstances they're in? I honestly don't think it does. I don't think it reads that way to me. I don't think it reads that they're going to actually move Brandon Ingram for the low, so to speak. I don't think it actually reads that way at all. But assuming I'm wrong, and let's just say it does, do you make a trade for Brandon Ingram? Can you get Brandon Ingram for Rui Hachimura and expiring D'Lo? Because I think that's the salary match there. And maybe I think you have to throw in another $1 million, so probably Maxwell Lewis, because it's not going to be Bronny James, but Maxwell Lewis for Brandon Ingram expiring. To be honest with you, I would love to have B.I. at the end of the season. Maybe I'm just picking nits here, so to speak, but I kind of want to hold on to Maxwell Lewis. I worry in situations like this that I'm gonna give away three pieces, and the smaller of the three pieces, which is Max Lewis, it turns into somebody as good as Brandon Ingram. That's what I worry about. That, because I've seen that type of thing before. Not to say that I project that that's what's coming, but I've seen situations where teams give away 4 and 5 pieces for a certain piece, and one of the pieces that match in position ends up being just as good as the big piece that ultimately was given away for so much. In fact, we talk about it a lot. Walker Kessler in the Rudy Gobert trade. Walker Kessler was one of like 7 things that moved for Rudy Gobert, and I could argue Walker Kessler's better than Rudy Gobert right now, or just as good. I could argue that. And so for me, I don't know that I'm all that comfortable with moving Max Lewis in that trade. I'm certainly happy to move Rui Hachimura and D'Angelo Russell in that trade. That's not going to be a problem. But if the $1 million salary has to be Max Lewis, I might actually get cold feet. Just off of the strength of me thinking that Max Lewis could potentially be something pretty good at the small forward position. And he's an athletic piece for which we need. And the key to all of that is Brandon Ingram expiring, likely signing somewhere else for a bigger check that we're not going to give him. So that means next season, after making that trade, I don't have Brandon Ingram either. See what I'm saying? That's the key to that. If Brandon Ingram's going to definitely be re-signed, or if he's already on contract that I like, then it's an entirely different story, because at least in moving a small forward with some athleticism, underdeveloped, can allow for me to make sure that I have that small forward in Brandon Ingram next year and the year after that, or what have you. But if I'm going to be moving 3 bodies in a shallow situation for an expiring contract that I'm likely going to lose for nothing or have to overpay to keep, I want to make damn sure I'm not giving away another player at his same position that could potentially be as good as him. And with Maxwell Lewis, I don't think he's as good as Brandon Ingram projected to be. But I don't know that in the grand scheme of things, you're not happy you hold on to Maxwell Lewis anyway, when you consider the lack of athleticism your team has at that specific position. In fact, I wouldn't be mad at the Lakers for working him into the equation right now. When you see how poor our athletic situation looked against Minnesota, and then you looked at how good he looked on the floor in garbage time against Minnesota last night, I could argue he might be one of the missing ingredients that we need to utilize more so to get that athleticism. You know what I mean? I don't think we think about these type of things. But some of our G League talent, when you talk about Maxwell Lewis, obviously Max Christie's not G League, but you put in Max Christie, and then you move in Quincy Olivari, now all of a sudden you have young, youthful, energetic, athletic pieces more so in rotation. You see what I'm saying? Like the Lakers don't consider that. They're using Gabe Vincent. And for our franchise, we already learned that lesson. Because we did that with Darvin Ham the first year when he was using all them small point guards. And we had pieces like Max Christie and that we refused to use that could have provided us more size, but we just didn't believe young players could play or that they were underdeveloped and that would be more of a problem than finding ourselves undersized and lacking in athleticism. But the reality is the pieces are in place. It's the same argument you can make in Philadelphia. The pieces that they need to provide them athleticism, it may be underdeveloped young players, but they're there. You just got to be willing to use these people. And they, for better or for worse, in regards to their development, might provide you the physical ingredients that ultimately provide you just enough to where your Gabe Vincent, or in the Philly situation, Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon, just don't provide you that. And that you living and dying with Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry doesn't make it so that, Ricky Council and, KJ Martin aren't there. That you're not working them into your equation as it pertains to you being more athletic and just accepting yourself to be a small, unathletic team is your choice. If you utilize those players more, suddenly that's not the dynamic. It's the same thing with the defense in regards to the Lakers. If we lean into Cam Reddish, Anthony Davis, Max Christie, Gabe Vincent, and Christian Koloko lineups, you may be lacking in some very key areas, but suddenly your defense doesn't suck as much. You know what I mean? Your defense you're not a horrible defensive team because those are defensive players. Now that you don't use those players or work them into the equation when assessing your team, it tells you that you are a team that has no defense. But the reality is you have a lineup that you do not use that will lean into nothing but defense. And if you play those guys 40 minutes a game, you're going to have nothing but defense on the floor. May not have nothing else, but the point is, what needs to happen is that those players need to be incorporated a bit more in lineups that help, protect them from their mistakes so that their defense can be utilized. You know what I mean? This is the argument I was making a few days ago when I was saying I'd like to see Cam Reddish and Max Christie on the floor together sometimes, because you suddenly have the players who can get back on defense in transition. Us being a horrible transition basketball team doesn't have to take place necessarily if we put those two players on the floor. They're getting back. You may not be the greatest team at that, but you're not the worst. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is the type of thing that I think teams need to start experimenting with a bit more. It's that they assess themselves without working into the equation the ingredients of some of the players they refuse to use. It's the argument I made about Minnesota as well. They got so many young players that can provide so much energy, but because they lean on the players they do and only assess themselves with those players, of course they think themselves as whatever the limitation of those players is. But if they would expand their horizons in regards to the rotations and utilize some of the things that those players they don't use provide, suddenly it changes their dynamics entirely. Now they're an athletic team with explosive players up and down the lineup if they use the bench. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, that's the problem in the NBA, man. And I think the Lakers can fix that problem by just moving up certain pieces. Max Lewis makes us significantly more athletic if he's playing real basketball minutes. Now you're not devoid of speed and athleticism in your back court if you're utilizing him and Max Christie a bit more together. See what I'm saying? Now you got two athletic wings out there who can move, who can move a lot. Now they create more problems with their mistakes in the areas they're not great at. But what you don't have is lacking in length, athleticism, explosiveness, youth. You know what I mean? And that's why I just think I don't know if it's feasible based on the set plays that coaches like to run and how you got to have certain experience in order to run these plays. Like being locked into that type of system makes it so that you want to wait on playing certain guys until they've learned the system. But your system is strangleholding you because you don't have the ability to work those players in who provide those things that you need. So is it that the players need to be set so that the system can be run? Or is it that the system needs to be set so that the players can run? And I think it needs to be a strong combination of both. And I think systems need to be able to work into the equation in regards to allowing for more movability with new players playing in that system. If it's too complex for a rookie to run, then you're only hurting yourself by running that system in a lot of cases. If your team needs what those rookies and those young players provide physically. I only trust Gabe Vincent to run that. Well, then the system's what needs to go. That's the problem. If the system only allows you to play your worst players, then damn it, that system is no good for you. Get rid of it. And so that's what I'm telling people, man. We gotta hold these coaches to a standard that allows for what it is that they do to incorporate more youth and athletic young players into their equation. If a guy is great on a basketball floor anywhere in the world, but can't run on your court because of your plays being too complex for him to run, then you are the one who needs to go so that you can run a more simple system that allows for those players who need to be on the floor to make our team as good as it needs to be to run. You understand what I'm saying? And this goes into the conversation about people not knowing how to simplify things. People being heralded for being able to provide a great deal of complexity, but people need to be extra, have great memories and great aptitude to be able to run their stuff. Like, you're handicapping the average player. Some of these guys just need to be able to run, jump, spin, and shoot. Like, You know what I'm saying? They don't need to be trying to memorize freaking, calculus out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally. You calculus pushers are the problem. And so that's a real thing, man. That's a real thing in the NBA. These coaches don't want to run young players who are more capable of doing what they need to do, because they're afraid they're going to mess up the plays that they have. I got to run this X, turn around, this triangle, this, box that. Like, man, forget all that, man. The crap is crap, bro. You put these players on a court anywhere in the world and going to run past the people you running these plays on, dude. Like, literally. They beat these dudes somewhere in Venice. You put Rob Dillingham on the court. He gonna run circles around some of the people in front of him. If you run him out in the street, he gonna run circles around them dudes. Put him in international play. He gonna run circles around these dudes. But he has to play behind Mike Conley because Mike Conley understands the calculus. Man, get out of here with that trash. Dilly's gonna put 40 on their heads without any of them damn plays. People forget this is a reactionary sport. People making so much money off of doing all this mathematics and making the game complex and coming up with all these damn, angles and this. That crap is garbage, man. That's nerd stuff, man. This game is more feel, read, and react than anything else. I mean, it's important to be able to react to certain plays and stuff like that. Some of these plays are really great. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying throw out the playbook entirely, but that teams be in the professional level be restricted to the playbook and leaving the feel, read, and react geniuses to not have an opportunity to play is craziness. That's a handicap. So that's what I understand, man. At this level, you got to be able to do both. You got to be able to audible out of in and out of both. And you got to be able to have a system in place that allows for guys to improvise where necessary and run set plays when necessary. And sometimes it's because guys are so limited that these plays are so necessary. And it's that you run these little dudes that can barely run, jump, and read and react. And you have to have different ways of doing mathematics in order to compete with the people who can. But just the same, if it's going to handicap those who are able to do this without that at a high level, then it ultimately is just that. It's a handicap. So as the game continues to evolve, this is the seed that I'm trying to plant into those who are watching me. If mathematics and analytics is the only thing you're going by, you're leaving a great deal of greatness outside of the equation. The game of basketball evolves a million different ways. And that people think the only way to play is the way they know is foolish. Well, he can't space the floor. Yeah, but that dude can jump higher than everybody, dunk harder than everybody, and shoot more accurately than everybody. But, he's kind of, he does this, that, and he doesn't work out within the system. Man, get out of here with your damn system's trash, bro. You're in the Stone Ages. That kid he would play great tomorrow without the presence of your complicated system. And the evolution of the game that's going to speed past all that math you're doing, he's going to be able to evolve in that. He's going to be able to thrive in that, rather. But while we sitting here trying to figure out how to, turn on the radio, you know what I'm saying? With your primitive ass system. And that's essentially what it is. But I don't think a lot of people are ready to admit that. Hello, friend. What's up? And so this is my thinking on that. I want people to start allowing read and react geniuses to do exactly that. Teach them a couple plays for structure, but other than that, leave them out there to cook, man. Leave them out there to cook. Don't have the same old, puzzle piece players who run about as fast as I do, run out there, run these same old plays, making read and react players obsolete, making athletes obsolete, making them wait 5 and 6 years to get on the court because they ain't learned these stupid plays. Man, forget these plays, bro. Put him out there and let him run past the dude he's faster than. That's all I'm saying. Let him shake and bake and cook some dude that can't stay in front of him. Because that's really what you're trying to do. Your plays make it so that dude can't play. And those plays are only in place so that people can be dumbed down in the presence of him and actually have an opportunity to compete with him That's the truth in the NBA. So anyway, that's what I have to say, man. I'm off my soapbox when it comes to that. I just want the game to get a little bit easier, man, for all of us to get the product that we want to see, for those of us who are fans and for the players, to beat the players that they can beat, to run past people that they're literally faster than. Like Minnesota was running past all our guys last night. That's exactly what it was. A lot of conversations being had about Anthony Davis not getting back fast enough. I mean, that's a thing only because of who's around him not getting back fast enough too. He can be the trailer and still get where he needs to go to be the best defensive player he can be. It's that he needs more athletic, speedy guys that can get back so that he's not trying to beat a point guard down the floor. It's not that he's not getting back. It's he's a big. So why is he tasked with beating guards and forwards down the floor? It's because the players that are at those positions are slower than the average that it's important that he hurry up and get back. That's all it is. He's not the problem in transition. It's everybody else, if I'm being completely honest with you. That's what I think. I honestly don't think it's him being too slow to get back. He's doing what bigs do. Bigs ain't supposed to be the fastest getting back down court. You want him to tear his legs off trying to beat De'Aaron Fox in transition? Like, it's never going to happen. Get you with De'Aaron Fox. You know what I'm saying? Literally. Got him down to Rui Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell, and Austin Reeves. I mean, Austin's the most athletic of the three, man. It's not happening. And then Bron James, who's 40. I don't know what y'all think is about to happen in transition, but I could have told you it ain't going to work. And everybody likes to say phrases like, who's the problem? It's not the problem. There's many problems. But for the sake of keeping up with their conversation, the problem in this conversation for me is Rui. If I'm being honest with you. It's Rui. Because he's the guy you got trying to play the three, who's actually too big and slow to play the three. And there was a time when I thought he should be playing the three, and I thought it was okay to try it. But here goes the problem. The other people next to him aren't quick enough to do the stuff they need to do for him not to be as slow as he is at that position. Him isolated in that position ain't that big of a deal. You got him next to speed demons, like Anthony Edwards and De'Aaron Fox, then hell yeah, he could play the three because those guys are quick as hell. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I mean? If he's playing with fast enough players that can make it so that his speed deficiencies isn't a problem, then it's cool. But that he's lined up next to people who are not athletic at all in that situation, and two bigs who are not going to be speeding down the floor, then him being slower is more of a problem for the team. And that's why it's all about ingredients, in my opinion. Rui should be able to run the three in certain situations, but unfortunately for our situation, he needs to be faster. And asking him to be more fast, more this, more that, I mean, you might as well just tell him to turn into Giannis. Might as well just tell him to turn into somebody he's not. That's basically what I'm saying. Why not? Why stop there? Why don't you have him turn into Bron? Like, you know what I'm saying? Asking people to do things they cannot do just because the people next to them can't hold their weight. And whatever it is, it needs to be held. It's not feasible. Those demands are not unreasonable and not realistic. But just the same, it is what it is. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, can I turn Rui into that piece? This brings me back to the Brandon Ingram conversation. Can I turn Rui into that piece? And if the New Orleans Pelicans are really to do Brandon Ingram for the salary match in like some seconds, I'd be happy to do that. I don't know that that's the best deal they can get. They may as well be able to turn Brandon Ingram into somebody like Cam Johnson or something like that instead, which is probably a better deal for the Pelicans. But like for me, I think what we need is kind of what Brandon does. You replace Brandon Ingram, Rui Hachimura with Brandon Ingram, and if Brandon Ingram stay healthy, you've got the upgrade you need. You got the upgrade you need. But if Brandon Ingram can't stay healthy, then you wish you didn't do that. So that's kind of the problem with Brandon Ingram. It's his health expectations since going to the New Orleans Pelicans. It ain't the same thing that we had going on with him. He missed some games here and there, but we got rid of him soon enough to where we didn't go through the worst of the injury issues. He really do be in and out of the lineup consistently. And so while we may remember Brandon Ingram one way, you get him back and you got him as a rental, you may not even have him for a fourth of the time that you're even expecting to keep him in a rental situation. He may play 20 games. You know what I mean? May not be worth it. So that's something that needs to be assessed, and it's tough. It's tough. But all the more reason why he might be acquirable in this situation. And I think it may be, depending on how New Orleans is looking at things, it may be enticing for them to bring on D'Angelo Russell expiring. If you're going to be moving an expiring piece, it's not that they don't want pieces expiring. It's just that a player like Brandon Ingram probably shouldn't be walking at the price tag that he is. You probably want to capture some value for him. But just the same, I don't imagine they would be upset at having some expiring money on their books. And D'Angelo Russell at $20 million or 18, whatever it is, probably is a good amount to count on at the end of the season if you're a team like the Pelicans. So that's my point of view. I think that, I don't know what they would be thinking, but if I were in their situation, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in an expiring contract like D'Lo. So I have no idea what their take on Rui Hachimura is. I don't know. But, you got a guy that can put up some points if you put the right role for him around him. You probably have more stuff that complements him than the Lakers do right now. In the event you move on from Brandon Ingram, if you're the Pelicans, you probably, next to CJ McCollum, next to Trigger Murphy, next to, to replace Zion Williamson, since Zion's always out. May not be the worst role for the guy. Next to, Jones. I think the Pelicans probably a little better of a fit than the Lakers is, to be honest with you. He could play more of his own position, and that is the 4 in my opinion. So, I'm brainstorming, but trying to figure out if a team like the Pelicans would be opposed to bringing in moving on from Brandon Ingram and maybe taking back those 2 contracts. I don't think it's the worst situation for the Pelicans, as I'm just brainstorming it, to take back the package the Lakers have for an expiring Brandon Ingram that could likely walk for nothing anyway. They could do worse, put it like that. So do I do the deal? It depends on if they want a first or not. If they want first, it's not happening. I'm not doing that. I'm not giving away picks for a player that could potentially not be here next year. Brandon Ingram, I got to pay all kinds of money just to keep. That's me throwing picks down the toilet. Haven't we already done enough of that with that Russell Westbrook crap? I'm not doing that. Not for no expiring contract. And then some may say, well, we'll just re-sign him. That don't take away from the fact that he's expiring contract when I'm acquiring him. You know what I mean? The risk is what it is that I'm paying for. I'm not allowing that to happen. If we re-sign him, cool. But you're bringing him in with the intention of him being an expiring contract. So, no, you don't throw a first rounder, in our situation, an expiring contract. You don't do that. Not if you know what the hell you're doing. No. But if they're willing to do 2 second rounders or, maybe sweeten the pot a little bit, maybe I'd be willing to negotiate. But like I said, there's certain things that the Lakers must guard against, and one of them is throwing picks down the toilet for stuff that could potentially not even start the season with them next season. I would not. So that's really what I'm here to tell people. I have to say the LA Lakers are in a very unique position because as bad as they need to make a trade, they really don't have the assets to do everything they need to do in trade. That's really what it is. They don't have the assets. So while we can talk about what we want them to do, we can also talk about what may not be possible. So that's a real thing. But at the same time, I do think the Lakers need to make a move. I do believe they need to make a move. And if they make the right move, they may be able to save their season. May be able to turn the tide around in regards to their issues. Mentally, and the fatigue of losing to the same team over and over again. You bring in the right couple pieces, maybe they can instill some energy in this team. Problem is, what is going to be required in fixing that problem, and will it be something that creates more problems in the future? So that's my point of view, man. I hope people are listening to me. Try to keep a balance in regards to the desperation of what we're going through right now. And the prospect of a guy like a Vanderbilt not coming back till January, which I predict is probably going to be out for the season. You know, the issues we got at the center position, they create a great deal of incentive to move on from picks to fix the problem. But as I always say, a GM's responsibility is not just to make sure that we have what we need right now. It's to make sure that we have what we need going forward. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.